Good morning, everyone. In this video, I want to have a chit chat with you about using faulty equipment and using this as an excuse to justify an adverse effect or adverse reaction. So first, for credibility, my name is Khaled. I have been a dentist for 20 years and I own my dental practice, Lakeside Dental Spa in Harvey Bay in Queensland, and you can check the details below. And I've been running my practice for the last 14 years, and I took it from 1 chair to 10 chairs, and we started with team members of 3 staff members, and now we're close to 40 staff members. So sometimes I will see on different forums where dentist is performing a procedure, let's say a dental implant, root canal treatment, or surgical extraction. There's an adverse reaction, broken files, leaving roots behind that couldn't retrieve them, or maybe avoid the root because that can happen. Air emphysema, for example, or cutting the cheek, or causing trauma to nerves, or dropping a driver into the patient's throat or something into the lungs, and then they have to defend themselves and they blame that the practice didn't provide them the right equipment. You, as the dentist, you are responsible for choosing the right equipment for your procedures. And if you don't have the right equipment, you need to terminate the procedure and stop what you're doing and refer. I would rather you stop midway procedure, even if the patient is asleep under sedation, and wake them up and stop halfway the procedure, rather than finishing it with faulty or lack of proper instrument equipment, and then having adverse reactions and having to defend them. It's much easier to defend closing a flap and leaving a wisdom tooth behind because you didn't have the right tools, than going ahead and finishing the procedure with faulty equipment, then having an adverse reaction and then having to defend that. I'll give you 2 examples, and those happens to me in my first years of my career. I was working in a practice in North Brisbane, in northern suburbs of Brisbane. No need to mention the practice name, it's been sold many times, so the owners probably are not there anymore, and different business name, probably the whole street is demolished and rebuilt again. But this practice was owned by a dental hygienist and a practice manager. And again, I'm not against non-dents owning practices, it's just I'm showing you my particular experience. And the first day was very weird day. So for example, there was another 2 new grads in the practice. One would smoke cigarettes on the front door in between patients with the practice manager, the owner. They will both be smoking cigarettes, and sometimes the patient will join them. So it's a very, very weird practice working. Anyway, my first case was an emergency wisdom tooth surgery, and I start to numb the patient up to get them out of pain. Then I talk to my DA to collect my instruments that I require, and she handed me a high-speed with a crown prep bear. It's like, oh, I can't use that. I need a surgical handpiece with a surgical motor, a surgical straight handpiece with a surgical motor. And my DA said, oh, we don't have that. It's like, okay, I cannot do it, I'm sorry. We have to, do something about it, refer or something. And then another new grad, lovely girl, and she wanted to help, genuinely wanted to help. And she ran, it's like, we got one, I'll get it to you. And she brought to me a lab motor with a lab black, those black lab handpieces, and it had plaster on it already, and dirty one, and just gave it to me. It's like, hey, go ahead and use that. It's like, no, that's I don't want to swear, but that's a lab motor. I cannot use that. It's like, oh, it's okay, I used it before. It's like, no, you used before. I'm not gonna use it. It's not gonna happen. And I told the patient, I'm really, really sorry. Don't have the right equipment today to perform this wisdom teeth. I numbed you up. Luckily, fortunately, the surgeon down the road is a lovely surgeon. I know him very well as well, the Max Fax. I gave him a call and I told him you're in pain. He will manage to find you an appointment today and sort it out for you. And I refer the patient out. I would rather do that every day than performing this with faulty equipment or even infect the patient with something because of lack of sterilization. On the same practice, I was doing an emergency root canal treatment as well. I was using a rotary file, and it broke straight away. I never broke a file before, except maybe once on a model or something. Not because I'm good, just because I was well trained to manage night-eye files. And then I took the file out, looked at the handle and shaft, and it had like marks on it. It's like, oh, what are those marks? There's like 8 marks. Oh, this how many times you autoclave them? So what are you waiting for? You're waiting for number 10 to discard them? And of course, I stopped the root canal treatment. I apologized to the patient again and referred them to an endodontist. My point is, and I left the practice. It was 1 day of hell to work in that practice. And the rest of the day I was probably referring cases out. So my point is, make sure you have the right tools and equipment. If you don't, then practice within the limit of what you have, and do not use the excuse of causing an adverse reaction that you were giving faulty equipments. You are responsible as an associate, as a clinician, of using the right tools, and if you don't have them, you're responsible to stop and refer, even if it's midway of procedure. It's much easier to defend that than defending an adverse reaction that was caused by a faulty equipment. If you find the information helpful, please make sure you like and share it to your friends and colleagues. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so you are notified when I release more videos. Thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me.